Well, hello, everybody. 2 a.m. Well, I appreciate your being here to be able to kick it off with us tonight. Vita Luna, welcome on in, and welcome to all of you. Tonight, we are starting ourselves a brand new book. What are we reading? That's right, we are reading Breckan and Co.'s Strange Discoveries, Volume 1, The Facility. Now, volumes 2 through 5 are available out there as well, but I am limiting myself to volume 1. We're here to give you a little taste, a little snack. Are you enjoying it? Well, we'll find out later on, and if you are, then you're going to have to stop out and pick up the book. I happen to know it is available on Amazon for you. Why not stop out there, pick up the book, pick up this book and the other 4. I believe you can get them all 5 in one. And what a great way to be able to enjoy an author you may not have heard of before, you may not have had the chance to encounter before. And if you find that you enjoy the reading, well then, hey, what a better place for you to be. I'm trying to fix something really quick before we get started. For some reason, my Rumble stream does not want to Rumble stream. And I don't exactly know why. It is being difficult. So I am going to give it one more shot and see if I can't get it to go through. If I cannot, then they will just have to come and find us somewhere else. That sounds about right. All right. Okay, all of that should be correct. Let's see if you will stream now. Nope, you were having an output error. I don't know why, so Rumble, you will sit to the side today. So be it. I probably screwed something up and didn't realize it. Hey, stranger things have happened in my world. All right. Well, once again, I am glad to have you guys here with me. If you've joined me for the last reading, The Blacksmith's Boy, we finished that up last week. All of the recorded videos are available on YouTube, each chapter all on its own. Or if you just want to listen to it in an audiobook style format, check out Rumble. I have the entire thing uploaded, audio only. Rumble, of course, is a video platform, so there is the cover art like I have with the title and my, lovely face on it. But you're able to just listen to that one all the way through, whatever works for you. But tonight, once again, we'll be starting into Breckan and Co.'s Strange Discoveries Volume 1. As a reminder to all of you, I do record all of the chapters in here, or in this case, the discoveries. Because I record them, I am unfortunately unable to talk to you while I'm reading a chapter, because I'm recording it. But that does not mean you cannot comment and that I will not get back with you, because I will be happy to engage with all of your comments in between chapters. Whatever platform you happen to be on, whether it is YouTube, TikTok, Kick, X, wherever you happen to be, feel free to leave your comments, and I will be happy to respond to them in between chapters. But now, that's enough of our housekeeping. It's time for us to get started. So sit back, relax, and prepare to enjoy as we start our new book for the evening, Breckan and Co.'s Strange Discoveries, Volume 1, The Facility. Read for you by Tim Maloney. And here we go. The first discovery, a basement full of art. When Breckan was 8, he'd found something which he could not explain. He and Julie had snuck into his parents' cellar when they were busy watching their soaps. Breckan wasn't usually allowed in because the stairs were too dangerous for a young boy, but he didn't think much could happen. He knew how to walk downstairs, didn't he? And besides, Julie wanted to go in, and he wasn't going to tell her no when she'd set her mind on exploring. So they went down, and the stairs weren't at all a big deal as they'd made them out to be. Noisy? Yes. But if they walked really slowly in their socks, the creaking of the steps shouldn't be noticed above the blaring of the TV. The cellar, however, was stocked full of art. Why art? His parents had never expressed a large interest in it, apart from the fact that they sometimes dragged him to a museum and then spent way too long in each room. He just liked looking at things for a little while and would then sit down on the benches, thinking of all the things he could be eating right now instead of nothing. But if his parents had all this art, why would they hide it? Did they not like it? And then, why would they have it? Julie reached for a small statue. No, hissed Breckan. Don't break it, Julie. I don't know what it is. It looks like one of those things from the history book, said Julie. Maybe it's really old. All the more reason not to break it. Come on, Julie. Let's head back upstairs. Their show must be almost over. All right, she sighed. Thanks for showing me anyway. No worries, said Breckan, even though he felt unexplainably worried himself. When Breckan was 15, he found the explanation. He was watching the news with his parents when the anchorman said, "Over 7 years after it was first stolen, a priceless work of art was found in this millionaire's mansion." They showed a picture of the statue. He hardly had to give it a second look, but he couldn't help staring at his parents as they stared at the TV with their eyes wide, and then at him. And that is our first chapter, or our first discovery, ladies and gentlemen. A basement full of art. Do we know why? Nope. Have no idea why. I guess we're just going to have to keep on reading and find out. So, let's go right to it. Discovery number 2. A new room and a new neighbor. The next morning, Breckan woke up and saw the white ceiling come into focus. White? He sat up with a jolt. Where were his blue walls? He looked around the room and saw red curtains billowing in the wind and a metal door which was closed. His white curtains? His wooden door? He jumped out of bed and ran up to the door, banging on it and shouting, "Hey, what is going on? What is this place?" The door opened slowly and revealed his mother standing in the doorway, holding a plate of potatoes and spinach in her hand. Her dark hair was tied into a bun, and she was wearing a white suit and red stilettos and lipstick. She looked much more stern than the mom he'd been seeing around the house. "Mom, why?" "Because you know, sweetie. We couldn't risk you telling anyone. I know how much you and Julie gossip." I swear." "I won't tell her," he wanted to say. But that was a lie. How could he not tell his best friend that his parents were art thieves? "That's what I thought," she sighed and smiled wistfully as she put the plate on the ground. "I'm sorry about this, Petal, but really, in the end, you'll be much happier here." "Where is here?" Now, I can't tell you that, else you'd be able to run away more easily." "You're locking me up? Your own child?" His voice was strange, high-pitched and strained. "Don't think of it as that. Think of it as the start of your new life. Me and your father will come to live here too now that we don't have to pretend so much in front of you The kids at your school will hear we've had to suddenly move to a new town, and they'll be none the wiser. "Uh, but, but I had a life." Breckin was becoming more desperate now. "I had friends. I had a school. I, I was supposed to go to Valentine's birthday party today." He slumped on the floor in desperation. His mother gave him a pat on the shoulder. "I can imagine this must all feel very unfair to you now, and for that, I'm sorry." She pulled her face in a twist. "But you'll see." With that, she left. Breckin sat on the floor a long while after that, long after the tip-taps of her stilettos had faded away into the distance. Still sitting on the floor, Breckin was jolted from his reverie by a knock on the door. He looked up. Hi. Can I come in?" It seemed to be a male voice, though it wasn't very low. It also seemed a bit shrill, as though the person speaking hadn't used it in a long while. "I don't know. Can you?" said Breckin. His own voice sounded a bit wobbly too, and not very nice. I, I don't mean that sarcastically. I'm not sure if the door is locked or not. I don't even have a handle on this side." "Oh, okay," said the voice. "I'll try. Wait." The door slowly opened and revealed a boy standing in the hallway. He looked a year or two older than Breckin and had very light blond hair, which stuck out in tufts from his head. His eyes were strange. One was a grayish color, whereas the other was a greenish blue. Like David Bowie, Breckin thought. He certainly looked as strange as Bowie used to look, what with his lanky frame and somehow dark eyebrows which did not match his hair at all. "Oh," said the boy, "you're on the floor, and you've left your dinner." It was true. Breckin really hadn't been in the mood to eat, and thus left his plate of spinach and potatoes sitting next to him on the floor, by now much too cold to be tasty. Can, can I eat it?" said the boy. "I don't know you," said Breckin. "That's true." The boy swallowed, dejected. He gave an awkward smile and extended his hand. "Ah, I'm Zoot. Nice to meet you." Breckin stood up, but he did not take Zoot's hand. "How do I know I can trust you?" "I'm not asking for you to trust me," said Zoot, shrugging and lowering his hand. "At least, not right now." "Then, what are you asking?" "Well, I wanted to ask if you'd be my friend, but that's looking more and more unlikely. See, I'm your new neighbor. Or rather, you're my new neighbor. I was really looking forward to meeting you when I heard them cleaning up this room to let you move in." "And your name is really Zoot?" "Well, it's what they call me." "Hmm, okay." Breckin frowned, thinking. "You know what? Here you go." He picked up the icy plate of food and the plastic spoon that came with it and thrust them both into Zoot's hand. Thanks," he said, looking mildly surprised. Zoot attacked it eagerly. He must have been hungry. He did look a little frail after all. "Hey, Zoot." "Hmm?" said Zoot, mouth full of potato. "If I push you out of the way and run away, will you tell on me?" "I don't think—" That's a good idea, he wanted to say, but he was already hurriedly pushed aside as Breckin stormed past him into the hallway. Let's see, poor Breckin being locked up. Funnily enough, I wrote this chapter exactly 6 years ago on the day. Hey, well, it's a good happy anniversary for it then. I know, can you imagine? You find out that your parents are art thieves, so what do? They lock you in a strange room with a man called Zoot. Not very nice. But what are you gonna do, right? What are we gonna do? I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to keep on reading as we start into Discovery 3: A Dead End, a Talking Mouse, and a Milk Carton. Breckan ran. He ran as fast as he could, beneath flashing white lights and along sterile-looking walls, within which more metal doors were set. Finally, he came to a door at the end of the hallway. It looked bright and orange, in stark contrast to the blank walls around it. He pulled the painted metal handle of the door with all his might. Closed. Of course it was. Then he pushed and pushed, but still the door would not budge. His vision blurred. He felt as though the door were mocking him, laughing at him. He wiped his face. It was slick with tears. And then Breckan slammed his hands against the door again and again and again, and again, and again, and again. Sir, you're not allowed to be here. He swiveled around to see a man standing behind him, a man he did not know. A little ways behind him was Zoot, looking on sheepishly. You! Breckan shouted. You ratted me out. I did not, said Zoot. I swear. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to cooperate. The man reached for him. Get your hands off of me, Breckan shouted, twisting away. But then he realized, where am I going to go? He sagged against the wall and buried his head in his hands, sobs heaving his body. He let himself be pulled away from the door. He refused to meet Zoot's eyes as the unfamiliar man led him back to his room and closed the door behind him. Breckan was all alone. He'd sat down on the floor again, cross-legged and miserable. He was still sitting there when he heard a small voice piping up. Hello? Help! Breckan blinked. It sounded as though it was coming from the window. He stood up, his legs sore and stiff, and made his way over to the red curtains, which were billowing slightly in the wind. The window's open. I hadn't even noticed that yet. He looked down and saw he was about 1 floor up, above a courtyard with not much yard in it. It was completely paved with stone. Unfortunately, he didn't see any way out of it, apart from another metal door without a handle. They're not dumb, he thought. But where had the noise come from? He didn't see any people in the courtyard. No, there was no living thing, except a tiny mouse scuttling in the corner. Don't be ridiculous, he told himself. But then the mouse opened its little mouth. Hello, you upstairs. Me? Breckan felt the room sway. This was too unreal. Yes. How can I get out of here? You can talk. But you're a pet. Pets can't talk. Squeak! Stay with it, will ya? I need to know how to get out. Well, he swallowed. How did you get in? Through a pipe. Too small a pipe for me, I suppose. Yes, you are 1,000,000,000 times the size. Now get me out. Sorry, little mouse. I'm trying to find the way out myself. Then the metal door opened, and the unfamiliar man who'd taken Breckan back to his room appeared in the courtyard. Breckan froze. Squeak! Squeaked the mouse. The mouse started running away, but the man quickly seized hold of it. Madam, you're not allowed to be here. The mouse struggled fervently, but the man held her firmly by the neck. Come along now, little mousie. The man and the little mouse disappeared behind the door again, and Breckan froze. He felt dizzy. Maybe I should eat more tomorrow, he thought. When he finally fell asleep that night, he dreamt of mice running around in circles around him, and of Zoot, smiling at him from a photograph on the wall, his hair now completely black and both his eyes blue. The next morning, Breckan got a few pancakes in his room for breakfast. They looked just the same as the pancakes he used to have at home, but it didn't feel the same at all. As he was eating them, he heard a knock at the door. "Hmm? It's me, Zoot." "Hmm." Breckan still wasn't sure how he felt about Zoot. The picture of him he'd seen in his dreams. He knew he'd seen it somewhere before. "I'm sorry about yesterday," said Zoot from behind the door. "Can I come in?" "Hmm. Okay," said Breckan. Zoot opened the door, smiling apologetically. He took off one of his shoes and jammed it between the door and the doorway to prevent locking himself inside Breckan's room. Then he sat himself down on the floor in front of the door. "I had to promise the guard not to let you out again, else he wouldn't allow me to visit you." "How come you're allowed to go out?" "I've earned my door handle privileges," said Zoot. But he didn't look too happy when he said so. This made Breckan worry. What exactly had Zoot done to earn this? "But I'm not allowed to go much further than you, really. Just down this hallway, and there isn't much there except a slightly bigger bathroom than the toilet you've got in here." Hmm. Breckan had decided he would not tell Zoot about the talking mouse. At least, not yet. He hadn't even fully wrapped his head around it himself. And besides, what use would that info be to anyone, really? "Hello, Zoot. There was a talking mouse." "Okay, what do you want me to do about it?" "And your room is in this hall, of course," said Zoot, trying to fill the silence. "Was there anyone in this room before me?" "Oh, yes. There was this girl. I called her Mo. She got adopted, they told me. I do miss her still, but I'm glad she got to move on." "Don't you have any parents, then?" asked Breckan. Zoot shrugged awkwardly. Then something dawned on Breckan, but it dawned at the edge of his mind, just out of reach. "Hey, Zoot, I think I've seen your face somewhere before." "I doubt it," said Zoot, suddenly nervous. "No, I'm sure." He stared into Zoot's eyes, willing himself to recognize him. I think you must be mistaking me for someone else. I think I'd better go. See you soon." Zoot hastily stood up, yanked his shoe away from the door, and hopped into the hall on one foot, not even bothering to put on his shoe. He closed the door. And then Breckan realized he'd seen Zoot's face in his own home, at the breakfast table. Zoot was one of those missing milk carton kids. Oh, sure. Now we've got talking mice and milk carton kids. Oh, no. And Mo. Mo, who got adopted, or so they say. Always got to keep hydrated. But what has really happened? I guess we're going to have to go into Discovery 4 to find out, won't we? So, you know what? Why wait? Let's go there right now. Discovery number 4: a red door and a new profession. Breckan did not see much of Zoot after that. There was a knock on the door the next morning, but it was the unfamiliar guard who stood in the doorway, not Zoot. "Sir, management wants to speak to you." "Do you mean my parents?" He hesitated. "Yes." Then his mother appeared, wearing the same stilettoed outfit she'd worn last time he'd seen her. "Mother, I haven't seen you for days," said Breckan. Have you finally decided to stop this madness and let me out? You know I can't do that, Petal, she said. But I am giving you a chance at more freedom. I'm giving you a job to do. Do it right, and you may earn some privileges. I don't even know what it is you do here, and I don't want to help steal any art. Pah! Steal art. As if. We'll tell you what we do when the time is right. If you behave. The look she gave Breckan then made him suppress a chill. No, you'll just be cleaning some tools. Yes, that is the right word. Breckan was about to object, but then his mother said, If you don't clean them, they'll still be used. Only it'll be much more dangerous. So, really, it's a win-win situation. Breckan didn't see it as that, of course, but he didn't see much he could do or say against it, and he did not want the tools to be dangerous, whatever they were. Okay, he said. See, I knew you'd see sense. Now, if you'll come with me, I'll take you to the storage closet. He followed his mother dejectedly into the hallway. There he saw the guard talking to Zoot. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to come with me. I don't want to, said Zoot, looking at the ground. Management needs more, said the guard. Zoot looked up at the guard. But I just gave them some last week. Sir, said the guard, much more sternly now, I'm going to have to ask you to cooperate. If you don't come with me quietly, I'm going to have to use force. Zoot's hand shot up toward his cheek, and Breckan recalled seeing here that he might be in graver danger than he realized. Okay, Zoot said in a quiet voice. I'll come with. Zoot shot him a desperate look, but Breckan was powerless to help him. In fact, he could hardly remember a time when he felt more powerless. After that, Zoot and the guard made their way towards the orange door at the end of the hallway and disappeared behind it. Always making trouble, that boy, said Breckan's mother disapprovingly. Now, let's get you to work. Breckan's job turned out to be the very tiresome and boring. His mother had taken him to a plain storage closet where he had to clean an assortment of tubes, wires, and metal clasps, and then sort them into boxes. He shuddered to think what they were going to do with them. He was also more confused than ever. It had been shocking enough to find out his parents were art thieves, and then to be moved to this strange place. But now it turned out they may be something else entirely. He didn't know what to think. And though he wasn't sure what to think of him either, Breckan worried for Zoot. But he kept cleaning the little tools till they shone, and within a couple of days he was rewarded. Here, said his mother, and handed him a door handle to put on the inside of his room. You have shown yourself to be diligent and hard-working. Don't make me regret this. You are only to go out to your work, the bathroom, and to visit Zoot if you wish to do so. Breckan nodded and tried to look grateful. He could not get the words "thank you" to come out of his mouth. His mother gave him a curt smile and walked away. Breckan rushed to the bathroom and threw water into his face. He drank straight from the tap. He closed the door and took a long, hot bath. For the first time in a week, he felt things might be okay. His tears mingled with the bathwater. He wondered where Julie was right now. Did she miss him? Would he ever see her again? At least she wasn't stuck in here with him. That brought him some comfort, though it also made him feel more lonely. The bath turned cold, and he slowly toweled off and dressed himself, not wanting to go back outside. He folded his towel and put it back in the white wooden closet where he'd found it. The back of the closet peeked out from behind the stacks of towels. It was a bright red color and quite shiny. That's an interesting design choice, he thought. He was about to turn away when a sudden urge made him push his hand in between two stacks, his fingertips brushing against the back wall of the closet. It felt cold to the touch. As if in a frenzy, he pulled the towels out, not bothering to do it carefully, until he was stood in a heap of towels and he could see, clearly, what the back of the closet was. A bright, red metal door. What lies behind this strange red door? He wondered. He reached his hand towards the door's metal handle, praying it wasn't locked. But he hesitated, his fingers grasping empty air. I shouldn't be doing this alone. He folded each towel again, as neatly as he could in a short amount of time, and shoved them back into the closet. Then he set off towards Zoot's room. Yes, door handle privileges achieved! And now he has found himself a brand new door. A bright, red, metal, shiny door. I should remind everybody here, as this last chapter reminded me, there will be times, because this is a live reading, I am going to mess up the words. If you happen to be following along with me, you will see that sometimes I may say a word wrong, I may accidentally skip a word, I may jumble a whole sentence together and have to throw something out of the top of my head to try to make it make sense, because I'm recording this in a live setting. Live readings are very different than recorded audiobooks because I'm here, I'm giving you a performance. It is live right in front of me. Hello, it is actually me. I am not AI. When I'm doing a recorded audiobook, I mess up on a sentence, I stop, I go back, I re-record it, I get it right. Very different experiences. So, if you happen to be reading along, or you happen to have written the story and you know what words should have been there, but you hear Tim say something wrong, that is the fault of your narrator, not the author. I will do my best to make it as good of a presentation and a performance for you as I can, but it does mean that if I start to accidentally mess something up, I may take small liberties just here and there. Just be aware. I do try to warn every once in a while that that happens, and in this last chapter, I had an entire sentence that just jumbled coming out of my mouth, and so I tried to put it back together as best I could. The joys of live performance. But now, let's get on as we find out more when we look into Discovery number 5. Whatever happened to Richard Flanagan? Breckan opened Zoot's door, not bothering to knock in his excitement. Zoot! Breckan closed the door behind him. I've got something to tell you. But first, before I trust you, I want to know who you really are. Hmm? Said Zoot, blinking. He lay in his bed and had clearly been asleep just a moment ago. Now that Breckan got a better look at him, Zoot did not look well at all. His eyes were a bit dim, and his skin had taken a grayish sheen to it. Zoot, are you okay? I will be, he said, mumbling slightly and pressing himself into a sitting position. Have you been here all week? Pretty much. Did? Breckan swallowed. Did they hit you? Zoot did not answer, but his shiny eyes and quivering face were enough. Jesus, said Breckan. Then they both were silent. You wanted to know who I am, you said Zoot, fumbling with his blankets and not meeting Breckan's eye. Breckan nodded. I suppose the truth must come out sometime, said Zoot, looking up again. So why not now? Then he sighed. My name is not really Zoot, as you might have guessed. That's just the name your parents gave me when they found me. It's it's really Richard. Richard, said Breckan, more to himself than anyone else. Me and my parents, we didn't really get along. It was fine when I was little, but when I got older, they expected me to be someone I wasn't. Whatever I did, I could never seem to live up to their expectations. They were never satisfied with me, and we started to have rows almost every night. In the end, I couldn't take it anymore, so I ran away from home. Zoot stared at the curtains, and Breckan saw a tear roll down his cheek. Your parents found me living on the street. They promised me a room of my own, and food and protection. I told them my story, and they said, well, sounds like you've had it rough. Now we'll make sure you have no more of these troubles, Zoot. And I said, Zoot? And they said, oh, why, yes. We can't let you keep that old name of yours now that you'll be going under cover. They told me they were scientists working on an important and very much secret project, and I believed them. So we struck a trade. They would let me live and hide in their facility, and in exchange I would help them with their research. Seems like a fair trade, right? I thought so at least. In fact, I was ecstatic. I had no idea what they were working on, but I knew it must be something big, since we were all holed up in this remote place, and even I had no idea where it was. I was so happy to be able to help them, and they were so nice to me. Zoot trailed off then and became silent. They were so nice. I wonder if that was a lie as well, or if they just got more warped as time went on. Breckan walked towards the bed and sat down. He put his hand on Zoot's hand and looked him in the eye. What happened next? Well, at first the things they made me do were easy. Reading tests, eye tests, blood pressure, IQ, and they were always kind afterwards and said I'd help them a great deal. But then something went wrong. They seemed to be making less progress than they wanted. I gauged from their frustration. And then they had this machine. It was a bit like a big helmet with wires and bolts and tons of other strange parts that attached to it to a much bigger machine. They put it on my head and sat me down on a chair. I heard your father murmur something about it being too early, and your mum something about how it was already late enough. I felt a little scared then, and said so. But they told me not to worry, so I didn't. And then they turned it on. I had never felt anything so strange. Like a thousand small currents going through my head. But nothing much else happened. And they got angry with me and the machine. They turned it off and took the helmet off my head. And I was okay, except my hair had turned completely white. I cried, but they did not comfort me. I should have known something was wrong then and there, but I didn't. What I thought was, this may be it. They're going to abandon me now that I've let them down. I was more scared of being kicked off the project than the experiments themselves. Can you believe that? But I was just so scared of going back to the streets. After that, things were surprisingly okay for a while. Sure, I'd lost my hair color, but they brought in a new girl to live at the facility, Mo. I gained a friend. She lived in what is now your room, and we spent as much time as we could together in between experiments. Did they do tests on her, too? They mostly took blood samples of her, and they actually seemed quite nice again, now that they seemed to be remaking progress. But then it went wrong again, and much worse than last time. They took some of her blood and they injected it into my bloodstream. They took some of mine and injected it in hers. They sat us down in opposite chairs and told us to think our thoughts at each other. Then they put the helmet on me again, only it looked a little different this time, and it covered my eyes. And then they turned it on again. This time, the current was much more powerful, and there was a blinding flashing light. I tried to think my thoughts at her, but the feeling of the current turned into an immense pain, and I could only scream. I I fell off the chair and I heard Mo shout my name as I lost consciousness. Breckan was stunned into silence as Zoot swallowed and tried to keep his composure. When I woke up, my my left eye had gone blind. They they'd maimed me, Breckan, and they didn't even care. They wanted me to go back to being their guinea pig as soon as I was just strong enough to stand. I said no, but they didn't want to hear any of it, no matter how much I pleaded with them. They made me go back to that god awful room and give them samples of my blood. Right then and there, I knew I had to run away, but I was still too weak from the incident, and I couldn't just leave Mo behind. If we were to escape together. But they would not allow me to see her any more. He swallowed again. That, that was the loneliest I ever felt. I was stuck, and there was no one to help me, or even just be my friend. Until one afternoon, when they told me Mo had been adopted. Then I knew this was my time. I was going to run away that night. I didn't pack for my escape. I never had much more than the clothes I had on my body anyway. I just made sure I drank enough water and finished my meal that evening, because I didn't know when I would next have a chance to eat or drink. When darkness fell, I slipped through the orange door. They hadn't even locked it. But then again, why should they? I'd never tried to run away before, and it wasn't as if I had somewhere to go. But when I went through the next set of doors, I triggered an alarm of sorts. I heard a loud ringing, and I began to run through hallways and doorways until I at last breathed in the open air. I had to catch my breath there for a minute. I was still not completely recovered from before. But then I started running again. "Oh, what did it look like?" asked Breckan. "A kind of industrial place. I thought I smelled salt in the air, so I think it must have been near the sea. But I didn't get far. When I turned around, I saw your mother chasing after me, stilettos in hand. She was faster and quickly caught up with me. She grappled me, and we tumbled onto the hard concrete, fighting. For a moment, it looked as though I had the upper hand. But then I felt a sudden blow to the back of my head that made the sky spin above me. I looked into your father's eyes as he towered above me, one of your mother's pointy devils clenched in his right hand. As I carefully touched the back of my head, I thought I saw him mouth the words, "I'm sorry, kiddo." My hand came back wet, and I fainted once more. "Jesus," was all Breckan could say. After I woke up, all pretense your parents once had was gone. They'd hired a guard to keep me firmly locked in, and they'd taken my door handle away. They didn't compliment me when I gave them my blood. They hardly spoke to me at all except to order me around. I refused to speak to them and tried running away multiple times. But each time, the guard caught me, tased or hit me, and dragged me back to my room. Zoot saw the concerned look on Brecken's face. "If you do as he tells you to, he won't hurt you. But if you don't," he swallowed. "After a while, I gave up on running away. First, your parents were suspicious, thinking I was just biding my time. But when they saw the spirit had gone out of me, they gave me my door handle back. Just a week or so later, and you'd arrived." Suit gave Brecken a wry smile. "And suddenly, I had a bit of hope again. Or at least, a reason to keep trying." He sighed and leaned back against the pillows. "It feels as though I've been stuck in an airport. Yes, that's the best way to describe it. I'm in a place that's not really anywhere, and the food and service definitely are not the best." He gave a haughty chuckle. "And I've got nowhere to go back to, and no way forward either. I don't know if my parents even think about me still, and I won't be able to handle the streets again on my own. And so, that's it. I'm stuck." Zoot's voice cracked as he said those last few words. "We'll get you out," said Brecken, and he meant it too. "Together. We'll find a way to leave this place. I have a friend, Julie. If we can somehow get to her—" Zoot nodded. Do, do you trust me now?" "I do." Brecken pursed his lips, wondering how best to say what he wanted to say next. "And Zoot, I don't know exactly what your parents did to you, but I do know that they are still thinking about you. Very much so." Zoot frowned a little, looking confused. "You're Richard. Richard Flanagan, right?" "Y- yes, but how—" "I figured out where I know you from. Your face and name are on every milk carton in town. Your parents desperately want to find you back." "They do?" "Yes, I'm sure of it." "Oh." With a jolt, Brecken realized that the milk cartons might be the reason his parents found Zoot instead, and tricked him into coming with them, and he felt a sense of unease come over him. Luckily, he didn't have to dwell on it for very long, because suddenly Zoot piped up. "Hang on. Wasn't there something you wanted to tell me?" And so Brecken explained to Zoot what he'd found in the bathroom. They agreed to meet in Brecken's room at midnight. Ah, poor Zoot. I am glad that you have been enjoying it. Yes, all of the chapters will be up there tomorrow for you to be able to catch when it's not 3 a.m. And thank you. Love your reading of Zoot's backstory. I appreciate that. There are some of these, especially when it comes to dialogue, that really give me the chance to put my acting chops to work. Depending on the book, you don't always get the opportunity to do as much voice acting as you would want to. In a previous life, long, long ago, I was an actor, not a big actor, high school and stuff like that, but Um, it's nice to be able to do some of that sometimes, and, he definitely had the kind of story that you can put some good emotion into, so I am very glad that you enjoyed it. But now, ladies and gentlemen, take a sip of my tea because keeping hydrated. We will continue to roll along with discovery number 6. Things aren't always as easy as they seem. When he left Zoot's room for his own that late afternoon, Breckan ran into the person he least wanted to see in the hallway, his own mother, walking towards him. He could hardly stand to look at her face, knowing all that she had done. He looked down at her red stilettos, but the mental image of his father hitting Zoot with one of them made his stomach squirm. So he went for the middle way and looked at her stomach. Only then did he see that there was a small, dark-skinned boy walking behind her. He looked about 13, though small for his age, and wore a sweater much too big for him. One of his own, Breckan realized, one that Julie had given him. "Hello, Mother," said Breckan tersely. He meant it to sound fierce, but he sounded more like a wounded dog, which was a more accurate description of how he felt. "Hello, Petal," said his mother, as though she wasn't hurting innocent people with her despicable experiments. "I'd like you to meet Rizzo." "Hi," said Rizzo shyly. Breckan wanted to tell Rizzo to run. He wanted to push his mother over, grab him by the arm, and run away with him. But he knew that none of these things would help. They'd just get caught and be stripped of their door handle privileges, and be back to where they started, and more people would get hurt. "Hi," said Breckan. Do do you want to come over for tea in my room?" His mother smiled a tight-lipped smile. "Oh, sweetie, I'm afraid that will have to wait until another time. Rizzo has a big day ahead of him tomorrow, and we still need to run some tests." Uh, a big day? You'll see. Tomorrow." She started to walk away. "Then you'll understand." Breckan sat in his room, feeling as though he would never understand. He would never understand how his mother could deny Zoot's parents their child, without so much as batting an eyelash. He would never understand how his father could hit Zoot with a stiletto and continue to keep him captive. And there was no reason in the world that could justify to him how they would twist the truth and harm Zoot without even telling him why. But tonight, things would finally change. If they did not find the way out, they would at least find something. He was sure of it. Something important had to lie beyond that red door. He lay on his bed, trying to get some rest before night would fall. Just when he'd started dozing off, he heard a small voice shout, "I can't swim! Let go of me, you fiend!" It seemed to be coming from outside. Breckan sat up and made his way towards the window. When he looked down, he saw the talking mouse again, struggling in the guard's hands, who seemed to be lowering her in a small metal tub of water. She looked a bit mottled and splotchy. Breckan was surprised to find he had completely forgotten about the mouse until now, after all that had happened in the past few days. "Madam, this would be much more pleasant for the both of us if you'd cooperate." "But I can't swim." "That is why I am holding you, madam." Fine, but don't think I won't do it again." The guard sighed a tired sigh and seemed to slump a little. "Oh, little Miss Mousie, you know I feel for you," he said, "but spilling your friend's blood isn't going to help him.
You know they'll just take more. If you feel for me, why won't you help me? I am helping you, he said. I told them it was an accident, didn't I? But if you go on escaping, I'll have to keep catching you. He straightened up again a little. A job is a job. Can't you just quit your job?
Breckan could vaguely make out the grimace that appeared on the guard's face.
Things aren't always as easy as they seem, little miss.
He lifted her out of the water and dried her with a hand towel.
You do best to remember that.
And with those words, they were gone, and Breckan was left staring at a tub in an empty courtyard, hearing the guard's words echo in his head. Things aren't always as easy as they seem. So, here's our poll, guys. Anybody else think so? Is Mo the mouse? Is the mouse Mo? Is that what happened to Mo? Is that why she is now Little Miss Mousie? Only one way to find out. That's to read forward into Discovery number 7, What Lies Beyond the Towels. At 5 minutes to 12, Zoot snuck into Breckan's room. As they readied themselves for what lay ahead, Breckan told Zoot about him meeting his mother and Rizzo in the hallway.
Another kid, said Zoot. And she's planning something as soon as tomorrow? That can't be good. No, said Breckan. It can't be. Do you think she knows anything about what we're doing?
How could she? Said Zoot, shrugging. And so the two boys went into the bathroom together, hearts hammering in their chests as they slowly took all the towels out of the closet, taking care to make as little sound as possible. Zoot smiled at Breckan as more and more of the door became visible. A genuine and happy smile, one that Breckan was glad to return. Then they saw it in full. The red door, a shining rectangle of possibility. Zoot gave Breckan a nod, and Breckan reached his hand towards the door, enclosing the cold door handle with his fingers. Slowly and deliberately, Breckan pressed down, and he felt the door open. It wasn't closed. He pushed, and a metal staircase leading down was revealed. The room below a gaping black hole that was slowly coming into focus as their eyes adjusted to the darkness. They crawled underneath the lowest plank in the closet, Breckan first and Zoot following closely behind. Once down the stairs, they found themselves in a laboratory, filled with vials, chairs, bolts, flasks, pins, high tables, cloths, and strange machines. Breckan ran a finger along the surface of a table and found that it came back filthy with grime. Maybe we shouldn't leave traces, whispered Zoot. Then they'll find out we've been here. Breckan nodded. Sorry, you're right. Though it looks like no one has been here in a while. Do you know this place? Zoot shook his head and looked down at the floor. He could see the footsteps their feet had made in the dust. And then he saw another set of footsteps, one that wasn't theirs. Breckan followed Zoot's gaze and saw they led to something which looked like a bulky chair, with a big cloth draped over it. He made his way over to the chair and looked behind him to see Zoot still rooted into the same spot, though he did swallow and nod tightly to signal Breckan to go on. Breckan hovered with his hands above the cloth for a moment, then grabbed it and firmly yanked it away. No, came a shaky breath out of Zoot's mouth. Breckan turned around and saw that Zoot stood fixated, and seemed as though he was either about to start screaming or about to faint. Don't scream, croaked Breckan, though he himself felt the room spin and his stomach with it. He tasted bitter at the back of his mouth. Then it will all be for nothing. On the chair there was the body of a girl. Breckan instantly knew who it must be. Mo, Zoot's friend. Zoot took a few shaky steps forward, his face crumpling. He sagged to the ground. Breckan kneeled down, feeling unsteady himself, and put his arms around Zoot. He felt his shirt become wet, but at that moment he couldn't care less. I just wanted to believe she was safe, whispered Zoot, his voice breaking. I know, said Breckan. They sat like that for a while, until Breckan felt Zoot's heaving breaths steady out. Then he wiped his own face, gently stood up, and put the cloth back over the girl. He offered Zoot a hand. Here, let me take you out of here. Zoot nodded absent-mindedly. He let himself be led back up the stairs, and sat down on the bath as Breckan loaded the towels back into the closet, as though they'd never gone through the red door, as though nothing happened. When all the towels had been put back, Breckan took Zoot's hand and carefully pulled Zoot toward his room. He sat Zoot down on the bed. Zoot stared at nothing, his eyes slightly out of focus, his breath coming in short gasps. She's dead, said Zoot. She's gone. Breckan just nodded and put his hand down on Zoot's shoulder, not sure what else he could do or say. Zoot scrunched up his face. She's really gone. My little mouse, Miss Mousie, is really gone. That made Breckan tense up. Little Miss Mousie? Despite everything, Zoot gave Breckan a shaky smile through his tears. It's what we used to call her. You, he swallowed. Your parents. They kept mice and rats in the regular lab. Mo loved them so much we started calling her that. Little Miss Mousie, said Breckan, thinking and choosing his next words carefully. Zoot? I'm not so sure that she's dead. What do you mean? We saw her. I know, said Breckan. I know. And I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but, well, maybe it is not as ridiculous as all the rest of the things that have been happening here. Well, I think your friend may have been turned into a mouse. Zoot laughed a scoffing laugh. What? I don't know how to explain it, but I've been seeing well, this talking mouse appear in the courtyard. The guard called her Little Miss Mousie, and he said she'd been spilling her friend's blood. It didn't make sense at the time, but now I think it may be mine. Zoot looked up. She could have knocked over the vials of blood your parents extracted from me to try and slow down their experiments. Ah, he exhaled air out of his nose. That does sound like her, and he looked Breckan in the eye. You're not just saying this to stop me from spiraling? Though I'm glad to see you breathing normally again. I'm not just saying it because of that. Okay, he said. We have to get her out. We will, said Breckan, though he wasn't sure how. Though I don't think we'll be able to do much else before tomorrow. The sun is almost starting to rise. It was true. A trickle of light had started to filter through the curtains. You're right. I should probably get some sleep. You should.
We need to pretend as though nothing happened tonight and regroup tomorrow, after whatever it is my mother has got planned has happened.
I know. I. I'll pretend. I can do that. He gave Breckan a wry smile, seeing his concern. Really, I can. Breckan nodded, hugged him, and then walked away. As he walked back to his room in the darkness, Breckan hoped. He hoped they'd be able to escape and take Mo and Rizzo with them. He hoped Zoot would be able to pretend to avoid them being detected. And most of all, he hoped that whatever his mother had in store for them wouldn't be that bad. Who was he kidding? Breckan slept fitfully during what was left of that night, his dreams a warped nightmare. He was in a black space, with nothing in it except a floor made out of nothing. Then he saw Zoot, sitting on his legs on the floor. His back was bent forward and his head rested on the ground. His hair was still black. He took a step forward and Zoot looked up, his eyes red, as though he'd been crying. Suddenly, his parents appeared out of thin air, each holding a chain that was attached to one of Zoot's wrists. Before Breckan could do anything, at once they pulled, and Zoot was yanked up, his arms painfully pulled backwards. He was crying, and his hair slowly morphed from black into white. "Stop!" shouted Breckan. "He's my friend! How could you do such a thing?" "Because we have the power," said his father. "And you don't," said his mother. Suddenly he saw Rizzo standing a while behind his parents, holding a mouse in his cupped hands. Had he been standing there before? "You'll never be able to save them," his father continued. "Come over, Petal. Join our side," his mother beckoned. A thin white line appeared, just in front of where Zoot still sat. One of Zoot's eyes had changed color. Breckan knew that if he crossed that line, he'd join them. His parents, who had raised him. His parents, who thought they were gods. His parents, whom he knew he would never join. He felt a sudden presence on either side of him and looked to see who, or what it was. The guard was on his left. Julie was on his right.
"What are you doing here?" he asked.
"We're helping," they both replied. Like a shot, they both charged forward and toppled over his parents, who let the chains drop out of their hands. Zoot stood up, his palms facing forward. They were bleeding. He shook his head regretfully. "You still can't save me." Breckan woke up with a start. So it looks like Mo was the little mousie. Hey! Every once in a while, guys, I have sparks of brilliance. Is that what we want to call them? Is that what we're going to pretend that they are? Sparks of brilliance? Well, guys, we've still got at least 20 minutes to go, so we've got more discoveries to make. And we can't do that as long as we're just sitting here. So let us continue with discovery number 8, an experiment. The first thing Breckan saw when he woke up was Zoot's face, hovering over him. "Oh," said Zoot, as Breckan jolted awake. "I didn't mean to startle you." "It's not your fault," said Breckan, frowning. "I had this dream." He trailed off, not really wanting to share it. "Ah, I see. I didn't sleep well either." There was an uncomfortable silence between them, quickly broken by the opening of a door. Breckan's mom stood in the doorway, stilettos and all. "Ah, I see you two boys have gathered together already. Good thinking. Saves time. Breckan felt in the deepest pit of his stomach that he would rather waste as much of his mother's time as possible. But he said nothing. Well, come on then. Don't just stand there. We have a big day ahead of us. Follow me. She spun on her heels and marched out the door, annoyingly upbeat. Breckan frowned, and Zoot gave him a bracing smile, though it looked more like a grimace. Then they both followed her into the hallway. She stopped in front of another metal door, behind which lay Rizzo's room. She took the boy by the hand, and they continued all the way till the end of the hallway, and then through the heavy orange door, down a flight of steps, through another door, into a laboratory. The guard was there, as was Brecken's father. He swallowed. He hadn't seen his father's face, except for in dreams, since before everything went south. His father looked unlike himself, but not in the way Breckan had expected. He'd imagined his father like a mad scientist, a powerful, self-proclaimed god with a lab coat as his uniform. But his father seemed nervous, a jittering, sweating pushover, dressed in a coat whose buttons were hanging by a thread. Breckan wasn't sure whether this should put him at ease or make him more afraid. His mother guided Rizzo and Zoot to two opposite chairs. His father whispered to his mother, though it was loud enough that everyone could hear. Are you sure we are ready for this, my dear? Wouldn't it be wiser to do another test with the rats first? He pointed to a cage, in which a mouse and a rat could be seen. Breckan shot Zoot a look. Mo. Zoot's eyes were big, but he retained his composure. Breckan sighed. So far, so good. Damn you and your rats. We've waited long enough. But, darling, I'm not sure it's safe. It's safe when I say it's safe. Yes, dear. His mother turned to Breckan as his father began putting strange helmets on Zoot and Rizzo's heads. What we are doing here is very important, Petal. You must understand.
Then what is it you're doing here? Spat Breckan.
Why, we are trying to achieve one of the greatest achievements of science yet. The reading of minds. The communicating through the brain alone.
I thought you were art thieves.
His mother began to laugh, a cold, haughty laugh. Well, we had to fund this place somehow, didn't we? And the government would not give us any money. No. They said it sounded dangerous, unfounded, and ludicrous. Those were their exact words. Ha! Can you believe it? But we'll show them, won't we, honey? Yes, my darling, said his father, still fumbling with the helmets, his hands shaking. And then we will be revered by everyone. Isn't it great, Petal? Just think of the endless possibilities. Breckan thought, and the images of mind control and thought police flashed through his head. He'd had enough English classes to know the possible and dire consequences of such things. So, do you now understand, his mother continued, why sacrifices have to be made? Why this is so important? Breckan remained silent. You'll get there, she said. This is a lot to take in, I'm sure. But I would like to ask you to do the honors. Boys, think your thoughts towards each other. She gestured towards a lever which was now tilted towards a side marked off.
No, thank you, said Breckan. I'm not interested.
Fine, said his mother with a tight-lipped smile. Then I'll just do it myself. She pulled the lever, and a crackling electrical currency began to flow through the machine into the helmet. Zoot and Rizzo screamed, an ear-splitting sound that went up and up. Then there was silence. Breckan stared, watching the electric sparks die down as his father turned off the machine. He stared at Zoot's limp body and felt a panic shoot through him like he'd never felt before. He couldn't even scream, let alone speak. Everything was lost. Then Rizzo stirred. He examined his hands, his arms. He frowned.
This isn't me, he said. Wow, my voice. I sound so different.
Then Rizzo looked up and saw Zoot's still figure. He screamed.
Ah, ah, my body. Oh, why am I dead?
His breath came in rapid bursts. Still, he found the words to say.
Also, I am way too skinny. You really should start feeding me more. Though I guess it doesn't matter anymore.
Breckan's mother cut through Zoot/Rizzo's words, her voice seemingly without emotion, though Breckan sensed anger underneath. It seems the boys have switched. You are Zoot, are you not? Zoot in Rizzo's body nodded. Then you must be Rizzo. She walked over to Zoot's body and raised her hand as though she was about to strike him. Breckan's father flinched. Breckan, the first wave of panic having subsided, managed to speak out.
Don't hit him.
The look she gave Breckan was steely, but she lowered her hand nonetheless. She grabbed Zoot by the upper arm and gave him a shake. Zoot remained still. Strange, she said. Then she turned to Breckan's father. Put them back. I'm not sure I can, said he. Put them back. Yes, darling. He cowered. Then he put the machine back on. After Zoot and Rizzo's bodies' screams had died down along with the electrical current, both Rizzo and Zoot looked to be unconscious.
Zoot!
Shouted Breckan and rushed over to his chair. The guards stepped behind him, but made no further move. Tase him, demanded Breckan's mother, finally visibly losing her composure.
No,
said the guard, and remained still. No. Breckan had never seen his mother look so outraged. Luckily, he had never seen her look so surprised either, which bought him some time. He put his hand on Zoot's chest and felt it rise and fall slowly. Thank God he was alive. Meanwhile, his mother spun on his father. Grab him! Grab them! His father said nothing, yet he did nothing either. Breckan shook Zoot gently. Slowly, as if awakening from a deep sleep, Zoot opened his eyes.
Hey,
said Breckan softly.
How are you feeling?
Zoot remained silent, his eyes staring at nothing.
Zoot?
Still nothing. Then something inside Breckan shattered, and everything, all the tension, hurt, misery that had been building up these past few weeks, came spilling out. He turned to his mother.
You broke him,
he said, his voice cracking with venom and emotion.
You broke my friend, and you don't even care. You care about nothing that matters. You said I'd understand, and I think I do. I understand that you'll do anything to get what you want, and hurt, and maim, and kill anything or anyone that stands in your way. And I understand. Oh, yes, I understand all too well how that will never work, and how I'll never forgive you for it, let alone help you with it.
His mother just stood there, trembling with rage, Breckan assumed. Then she spoke. You insolent little.
Take him upstairs,
Breckan said to the guard, as though she wasn't there.
Said the guard. Please, said Breckan. Take Zoot to my room.
You will do no such thing, shouted Breckan's mother.
You don't want your precious test subject to die, now do you?
Breckan spat. He didn't care what he said to her anymore. If she hated him, fine. All that mattered now was to get Zoot out of here. His mother pursed her lips, but she didn't argue.
That's what I thought, he said nastily.
Then kinder.
Take him upstairs.
Slowly the guard moved to Zoot and lifted him up in his arms. Zoot let himself be carried like a doll, seemingly unaware he was being moved. Then they, Breckan, Zoot, and the guard, exited the laboratory and went back upstairs to Breckan's room. No one stopped them. Barbette! How are you, my friend? Grandma's elderly voice. There's been no grandma. You're mocking my voice acting. Why, I oughta. One of these days, Barbette, one of these days. Pow! Zoom to the moon! Okay, well, maybe that's an old show that, might be a little bit beyond the age of some of our audience. It all depends on, who it might have been. There's been a mouse and a guard and Zoot and Rizzo and Breckan's mom and... Yeah, I'm not sure which voice you may have heard, but hey, you liked the voice. I'll take it. I'm glad to see you, my friend. I'm always glad to see you. You know that. Sounded elderly. Maybe they were just, they were crying or stammering. Who knows? But, guys, ladies and gentlemen, we have one more chapter to go tonight. One more discovery to make. And then we will call it for the evening. Because I try to read about an hour and a half, and then my voice starts to go a little bit, and it's just not as good for everybody. So, one more discovery. Then just a reminder, all of these chapters, these discoveries, will be up on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@SirArminius, for your re-listening pleasure if you happen to have missed anything. Always up there and live for you. I will put them up after we finish the stream tonight. But now, let's get ourselves into the last discovery of the evening with... I suppose it helps if I make sure I'm on the book. Discovery number 9. A drawing and a pack of playing cards. The guard placed Zoot upon Breckan's bed in a sitting position, propping him up against the wall. Then he moved in front of the door, his back turned towards it.
I'll stand guard,
said the guard.
Thank you, said Breckan.
Breckan carefully put his hand under Zoot's chin and looked into his vacant eyes.
I don't know what's wrong with him, said he. How can I fix him if I don't know what's wrong with him?
The guard pulled a pitying face.
Maybe he just needs a little time, he said. I hope you're right, said Breckan. Though maybe I should get something to jog his senses a little. Uh, I'll go see if there is anything in his room. You'll stay here and keep watch?
The guard nodded and stepped aside, and Breckan stood up and went through the door. Once in the hallway, a wave of dizziness came over him as he realized the gravity of the situation. He'd openly defied his mother and gone against her will. He'd taken her guard and test subject with him. And now he was left with a broken friend and still no clear way to escape. He took a few breaths to steady himself, then went on. There was no way back now. That much was sure. In Zoot's room, he found a little packet of playing cards and a crude drawing of what seemed to be Zoot himself tucked under his pillow, but not much more. He supposed it would have to do. He went back to his own room and found Zoot still staring at nothing. Breckan showed him the playing cards and the drawing, but Zoot appeared not to see it. He put the cards and drawing on the floor with shaking hands. He was getting desperate now, and tears were forming in his eyes.
Come on, Zoot. Please.
But to no avail. He sank to the ground and put his head in his hands. The words Zoot had said in his dream echoed through his head, again and again. You still can't save me. Then what was he supposed to do now? His breath came in ragged gasps as he cried more and more violently. He felt hot and extremely uncomfortable, and as though he needed to get out of here now more than ever. He stood up, opened his window, and stuck his head outside in an effort to try and calm down. Slowly, but surely, his breathing steadied, and he put his head back inside. He turned to the guard, but wasn't sure what to say.
We need a plan.
That was a start. But what would their plan be? Hey, the window's open, came a weak voice from behind him. Zoot! He wheeled around and saw Zoot blinking vaguely, the mist slowly clearing from his eyes, and Zoot's working eye now looking at him questioningly. Why is the guard here? Breckan smiled, a new wave of tears starting to form, but this time they were tears of relief.
Zoot! I'm so happy you're back.
He rushed over to him and held him tight. Was I gone? Said Zoot, carefully returning the hug. Breckan held him at arm's length and nodded.
Yes, you were.
He enveloped him again.
But you're back now, and that's all that matters.
They broke the hug. Where was I? He frowned. Wait. I was someone else, wasn't I?
Yes. My mother made you and Rizzo switch bodies. Only I don't think that was what she was trying to do. And something seemed to be going wrong on top of it as well.
Breckan remembered the way Zoot's mind had seemed to be active in Rizzo's body, while Zoot's body just... I was dead, said Zoot, realizing. Then where is Rizzo?
He didn't wake up when my mom switched you back, said Breckan. Though I should have gone to him too and tried to wake him. Or at least bring him up here too. I should have done so much more. You tried your best, came the guard's voice suddenly. You've put more of a dent in your mother's facade than any of us have been able to do. Thank you, said Breckan. Though I must say I do wonder why. And not that I'm not pleased about it, but why are you helping us now? The guard looked down. I've always tried to help, even though I also did terrible things, and you and Mo and especially Zoot here have every right not to forgive me for it.
They threatened you, didn't they? Said Zoot softly.
Yes. My loyalty, or my life, she said. But that didn't make it right when I did it to you.
It doesn't, said Zoot, and Breckan saw his eyes were shining with tears as he subconsciously put his palm to his cheek. But it's a start. Breckan swallowed.
You said Mo just now, didn't you? But you were hired after she'd gone. So that means you know too. You know she's a mouse.
The guard nodded, and Breckan realized he'd made another mistake. He should have taken Mo's cage upstairs with him.
I'm not sure management knows she's a mouse, said the guard. I mean, they know they have a mouse, but me and Mo tried to make sure they didn't know that Mo and the mouse are the same.
Though she
didn't always make it easy.
Sounds like her, said Zoot.
That might work in our favor somehow, said Breckan,
thinking hard about what to do next. Oh, hey. You took her drawing with you, said Zoot, and pointed at the piece of paper on the floor. That's me, he said, and grinned. Breckan smiled at Zoot distractedly, his mind somewhere else. First things first. They needed to all be together. They knew what had happened to Mo and where to find her. That was a good place to start. As for Rizzo, he decided to deal with that later.
Do you have the keys to the laboratory?
He asked the guard. He nodded.
Yes, though it might be risky to go there now. Management might still be out there. Everything we do is risky, said Breckan, though he knew the very real danger his parents, and especially his mother, presented. Do you still have your taser? Asked Zoot. I do, said the guard. Do you want me to fetch Mo's cage? Yes, please, said Breckan.
The guard hesitated.
Are you sure you two kids can manage without me standing guard?
Everything we do is risky, said Zoot. The guard nodded and was off. And all Breckan and Zoot could do was wait. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Yes, Barbette, if you're talking about this voice, then this is the mother's nice little soft cajoling type of a voice, as she's a nice little biatch. Anyway, thank you to all of you for coming along and joining me on the start of our journey on a new indie author's book tonight. Breckan and Co.'s Strange Discoveries Volume 1, The Facility. As a reminder, all of the chapters, or discoveries, will be up on the YouTube channel tonight after I finish with the stream. I gotta take the recordings, upload them, so give it a couple of hours. Tomorrow morning at the latest, you'll be able to find them. But youtube.com/@SirArminius to be able to go back and listen to all of them. But if you just can't wait, then you can always stop out to Amazon and pick up the book. Book 1, this is Volume 1. There's through Volume 5. You can buy all 5 books separately, or I believe you can buy them all as one condensed, one book copy with everything. I just throw voices out there as I go in, and then I have to fit them in the rest of the book. I should really read ahead, but it's not the way I do my live readings. I just get stuck with voices sometimes. We do what we do. I will not be able to do my live stream this weekend because, well, my middle child is graduating from high school on Saturday, which is going to prevent me from doing that on Saturday, and Sunday is her party. On top of that, my mother is flying in to visit. She gets in on Thursday. Basically, I'm out. I'm going to spend some time with her, and you'll be able to enjoy, seeing her for a couple of days before she has to fly back home. We're gonna have my daughter's graduation, her party, all of that stuff. So my next stream, everyone, is going to be next Tuesday. Well, so a part of this is it is a book that's designed for like middle schoolers. So there was a piece of that I was purposely gearing it towards a younger audience, knowing that a younger audience is not listening to it with me right now, but they might be later on um with the recorded videos. So either way, I hope you guys are enjoying it. Again, I will be back next Tuesday for the next installment, which may be the last installment. I believe we're already over halfway through the book because I want to say there are 17 total discoveries and one lead into the next. Ah, thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Yes, it's no longer so slow like I am trying to get my point across to people who have drank too much alcohol. Uh, I I am glad you are enjoying it, and thank you for the kind words. And again, thank you to all of you. The greatest gift that you can give me is the gift of your time, and I appreciate that you guys gave me the gift of yours this evening, whether it was for 5 minutes or for the full read. One last reminder, it is available or will be available on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@SirArminius later this evening. If you haven't already done so, please stop out there and give it a subscribe. Subscribing to the YouTube channel is free, and it just helps me to continue to extend my presence and share these stories with more people. Thank you, Barbette. I absolutely will. It should be a fantastic weekend. 2 out of 3 are now going to be out of high school, and one is entering his senior year. Old. I've gotten old. Have a wonderful week ahead, everybody. Be well. I hope all of you have a fantastic week ahead. Excuse me. And I look forward to seeing you all again really soon. Good night, everyone.